In my day-to-day life as an agency owner and a business consultant, I speak to many small business owners, and I'm honestly amazed at how few people actually know the unit economics of their business and of their advertising. And this is a major problem because without knowing these numbers, you are pretty much guessing. You're guessing when it comes to advertising, you're guessing when it comes to when things are not working, when you can scale. If you don't, for example, know what your break-even CPA is, cost per acquisition, you have no idea when you're losing money and exactly when you're making money. You need to know what your target cost per acquisition is. If you don't know these numbers, you are pretty much guessing, and paid ads is a very expensive place to guess. You'll often hear people say, oh, paid ads don't work, or meta ads don't work, or meta ads are super expensive. There's no ways it can be profitable at the moment. And this is all absolute rubbish. The people saying that do not know their unit economics, and you'll probably find that their margins and the structure to their funnels and their money models, it's just wrong, and their margins aren't good enough to be profitable and to scale. If you don't have your business model set up in the correct way, where there's enough margin or upsells, or you're increasing the lifetime value of a client, you're never going to make money off paid ads. In fact, I actually have a strong suspicion that the same people who do not know these numbers are actually the ones with the terrible margins and business models to begin with. Because what you'll find is people don't stumble across very profitable business structures by accident. The people that are winning and are making a lot of money have known these numbers for a long time. I mean, yes, you could get lucky, but it's not likely. You need to know these numbers to be able to scale your business. Today, we're going to get into how to actually calculate what your paid ads budget should be based off of some of these numbers. You know, what's your average order value? What's the cost to fulfill this order? What's your target CPA, break-even CPA? All these things, we're going to get into that now. Okay, so I've set up a bit of a document here, starting it off with basically just a statement saying most people don't know how to calculate their budget for meta ads, which I found to be true. So now I'm going to take you through exactly how to calculate it. So first of all, for this example, we need to know what our average order value is. So for this example, I'm using a supplement bundle and I'm saying it's $100, a nice round number for that average order value. Okay, I've broken it down into 4 phases. Let me zoom out a bit here. Into 4 phases of how to get to your budget. And I'm going to go into it step by step and actually run you through this. Now, one important thing when you're watching this video, I want you to pause the video after every calculation or after every stage and actually have a notebook or something and plug in your own numbers from your own product or service and calculate this with me step by step. And I think it's a very good exercise that everyone needs to do. And if you don't understand something, comment or message me and then maybe I missed something. But I've gone over this a couple times and I think it's a pretty good exercise for any business owner to do. Okay, so let's get into this. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. Sorry, just bear with me while I get the correct. Okay, cool. Let's start with phase 1. Ignore phase 2 for now. I'm going to zoom in even further if you don't mind. Okay. Phase 1, establish your unit economics. Point 1, break-even CPA. Now, break-even CPA is your average order value minus the cost of goods sold, shipping, and transaction fees, which is pretty obvious, right? What's the order value minus what it has cost you to deliver this product or service? Moving on. Target CPA is your break-even CPA minus your desired profit per order. Obvious, once again, pretty obvious. It's whatever your break-even is. Okay, how much money would you like to make? You don't want to just break even, you want to make profit. And then what's left would be your target CPA. So average order value for this example, $100. Product cost plus shipping plus transaction fees, we said is $55. Okay, just for the sake of the example, we need to use numbers. Yours might be different, but plug it in here. Break-even CPA then is your average order value of $100 minus the $55 that it cost you to fulfill this, which gives you $45 left. Now, if you are paying $45 cost per acquisition to acquire a new customer, you are breaking even. Anything less than that, you're making money. If you're paying more than that, you're actually losing money. Desired profit per bundle. We have said $20 here. We have chosen $20 per sale. So we want to make $20 profit per sale. Now, obviously, what that leaves us with then is our target CPA, which is our break-even CPA, $45, minus the $20 profit we would like to make per sale, which leaves us with $25 left to actually make the sale. So our target CPA is $25. Okay, let's move on. I'm now going to move over to phase 2. Okay, I've called this reverse engineering. So I'll run you through this now. Okay, required budget is your revenue goals divided by your average order value times target CPA. So this is also quite obvious if you actually think about it. How much money do you want to make and how much is an order worth? So if you take the amount of money you want to make divided by what an order is worth, you're going to get the amount of orders necessary to make the amount of money you want to make. Now, once you have that amount of orders, you times that by your target cost per acquisition, and you're going to get the amount of money needed. So for this example, we've said we want to make $10,000. That's our goal. Now, you can do this monthly, weekly, yearly. It doesn't matter. It's just going to apply then for that period. So orders needed. Our goal of $10,000 divided by our average order value of $100 gives us 100 orders needed to make our goal. Now the budget then is 100 orders times our target cost per acquisition of $25 means we need to spend $2,500 to make our goal. Now what I've added here is what I've just mentioned earlier. This could be over any period, but you'll need to spend this to get to the revenue goal of $10,000. Okay, let's zoom out again. I'm going to move over to phase 3, which is to check if it is actually viable. Now this is an incredibly important step of this because you're going to see it's not always viable, and then you're going to actually need to change your offers and your structure. So let's have a look at this. Is it viable? Is $2,500 realistic considering current market CPMs and click-through rates? Now, this is very important because you could have a plan. You could have certain margins and have these ideas. But if CPMs, which is the cost to reach 1,000 impressions on any given paid ads platform, let's just use Meta for now. If CPMs are a certain number and click-through rates are a certain percentage and conversion rates on your website are a certain percentage, you have to actually see, does this actually make sense? Because the idea that you have in your mind of how much you need to spend, how much you're going to make, could be rendered absolutely irrelevant by whatever the current market CPMs are in your area. So let's run through this. Okay, estimated traffic needed equals orders needed divided by the expected conversion rate on your website. Okay, so here we say we need 100 orders divided by the 0.015. Now we've done it like that because that's the 1.5% conversion rate, which then gives us 6,666 visitors needed at a 1.5% conversion rate to get 100 orders. Okay, keep that in mind. So when you're doing this for yourself, plug in your website's conversion rate here. And obviously you have how many orders you need to get your goal based on the previous step. Okay, we're going to now calculate what is, let me see if I can zoom in more because I don't want to confuse anyone. Okay. Let's check this. What is the max cost per click that you can afford based on these numbers? And now we're going to calculate that by taking the target cost per acquisition times by the conversion rate on the website. So target cost per acquisition of $25 times the conversion rate of the website gives us $38 that we can pay per click in order for this still to make sense. Now, the 38 cents is not what we want to pay. This is the absolute max ceiling before the math just breaks. Okay, now that we have that max cost per click, we can actually work out what our max CPM that we can afford would be. Now, CPM is the cost to reach 1,000 impressions on Meta. Just using Meta, for example, but CPM is the same thing on TikTok. So we can get max CPM if we have our max cost per click, which we have just calculated here, times that by our assumed click-through rate on Meta. So I'm using 2%, which is a decent click-through rate, but you can call it average. Let's just use that. Times 1,000. 1,000 is for the 1,000 impressions in a CPM. So that's going to give us $38 times 0.02 times 1,000. Which is going to say we can afford a max CPM of $7.60 before the math breaks. Now, this is a massive problem because, as I've said here, if the industry average CPM in your area and niche is $15, then a budget based on a $38 cost per click won't work. So this is extremely important that you do this math, because what you're going to find when you actually do the metrics here is that your current system might not be profitable from the beginning. So if you never did this, you'd run ads and you would notice, I'm losing money, I don't know what's going on. But it's actually that the numbers never made sense from the beginning. Ads were never for you with this current business model. So if this is the scenario that we find ourselves in, let's actually look, what can we do about this? So there's a couple of metrics you can manipulate here to make this make more sense. Your options that you have left is increase average order value. So this could be you bundling more things together, having an upsell, having a subscription service to increase that lifetime gross profit, lifetime gross value of a customer. Because obviously we use the $100 average order value for the supplement bundle as our example. If that was $200, if you had to go back and do all this math with $200, you would see it's way more profitable. So your one option is increase average order value. Second is to improve your conversion rate on your website. Now, yes, that's obvious. A good conversion rate for a Shopify e-commerce store is like 2%. So if you add 2%, that might not be that realistic. If you're at 0.8%, then this is 100% an option you need to look at. This could be your landing page, could be your headlines, it could be your copy, it could be your checkout, the whole checkout stage of your website. You could simplify that. That's maybe a topic for a video for another day. But if your conversion rate is under 1%, I would look at that. Okay, improve creative click-through rate. Now, that is a big one. I think I put a note here at the bottom. Okay, I'll get to that now. And then obviously your other option is increase your budget. If you can increase your budget, then you can fix a lot of this. Okay, at this cost per click level, every 0.5% click-through rate improvement adds $1.90 of CPM tolerance. Now that is incredibly important. If you can improve that creative and improve that click-through rate, the numbers change drastically. So small creative improvements unlock disproportionately more scale. This is why platforms reward high engagement ads with better delivery. So that's very important. If your click-through rate on your creatives on Meta, if that's low, that is, I would probably say, the lowest hanging fruit for you to change the numbers of this whole, the math of this whole system. If you can improve your click-through rate by better creative, better hooks, using real people, UGC, and just testing a variety of things, all these numbers change. So when you're doing this math for yourself, what I want you to do is write out these maths and then manipulate certain numbers, obviously the ones that are realistic to manipulate. If your click-through rates are low, add a percentage there, or half a percentage, and see what it does to the whole equation. You'll suddenly find that it might be profitable. So you have to see what's low. But if your click-through rates are industry average, your conversion rate on your Shopify store is industry average, the CPMs and things are pretty average, and you're losing money, it's most likely your margins. So then you're left with increasing your average order value and just improving your model. Okay, let's quickly go back. There's a couple more things we have to go over here. Okay, phase 4. Let's zoom into this. Okay, testing phase budget. So I've made a couple notes here. Are you a new brand? No historical data. You don't know what to test with. You don't know what to do. Here's a basic, very basic guideline, but we'll see how it pans out now. Meta needs 50 conversions per week to optimize effectively. Now, this is to get out of what's known as the learning phase. Meta's learning phase is pretty much Meta saying we need this amount of conversion. So let's say you've optimized your sales campaign for purchases. Meta will need 50 purchase events triggered within a 7-day period to exit the learning phase. That's Meta saying we now have enough data and enough examples of what someone who takes this action looks like to then go and give your campaign the best chance of scaling. So realistic break-even CPA, we said, was $45. So weekly testing budget, $45 times 50, which is the amount of events you need in a 7-day period to exit the learning phase, would give you $2,250 you need to spend in 1 week. Now, a note on this quickly. Let me get down here. If $2,200 per week is too expensive for you, spend what you can afford to spend. I've had many very profitable campaigns that have not left the learning phase. Okay, that is very important, and that is very true. I still have many campaigns live to this day that are extremely profitable that have not exited the learning phase. Now, I manage campaigns for various businesses, and sometimes there are a constraint on, ads budget. So it's not always possible to exit the learning phase. Exiting the learning phase is the ideal. If you can't afford to spend that in a week, you obviously have to spend what you can, and things can still be very profitable. So don't let that get you down too much. But that is Meta's guideline on how many events you need triggered in a 7-day period to exit that learning phase. So use that as a guideline for your budget. But obviously in the real world, if you can't spend that, spend what you can and try to get the most out of your ads. It is incredibly important that you know these numbers, or at least start thinking in the direction of calculating what these metrics are for you. What is your break-even CPA? What is your target CPA? What would you make? What is the average CPM in your niche industry area? Area is very important there, by the way. The CPMs in the US, for example, are, so many multiples higher than what they are in Cape Town, South Africa, where I'm currently am. What is the average click-through rates for your conversion campaign creatives? What is your website's conversion rate? And what is the average for a Shopify website conversion rate? You need to know all of this. And what you might find is that you were doomed from the beginning. The numbers for your product, what it costs you, the margins that you have left, it's not enough to run paid ads. So then you need to change that average order value. You need to incorporate bundles. You need to upsell. You need a subscription model. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it got you thinking. If this is not something you've thought about before in terms of your products and your paid ads, I hope it's helped. If it has, like this video, share it, comment, whatever. It'll be really cool. I enjoy making this kind of stuff because it's just what I fill my days with anyway, as someone who runs ads and as someone who's got a business, as someone who consults on other people's businesses. So if this has helped you, if I've missed anything, also let me know. Thanks.